this video, I'm going to show you how to create an authentication system in React using Supabase. And it actually might not be as difficult as you may think. So let's have a look at what we're building here. So authentication means we're going to be able to sign up a new user, sign in with that user, and also sign out. And we're also going to be going over how to show some user restricted content, meaning you have to be logged in to view the page, otherwise you won't have access. So this is what we're building here. I just have the Supabase dashboard open on my left. No users right now. This is our app on the right. So we're on the sign in page. Let's cruise over to the sign up page. So client@codecommerce.io, type in a password. And as you can see, it actually logged us into our dashboard page. It's displaying our email here. And on the left, you now see that we have a user inside of our authentication table in our Supabase dashboard. And we can go ahead and sign out. And if we try and access this dashboard route, you can see it actually just redirects us back to the sign up page, sign in page, however you want to do it. So if you want to see how to build this in React, Supabase, let's get started. Okay, so here we are in VS Code. Let's go ahead and create our React application. I'm going to type npm create vite at latest, and I'm just going to install it inside the current directory. Let's do a React, and I'm going to find JavaScript with a speedy web compiler, npmi, and then you can just cruise over to supabase.com. We're also going to be using just a little bit of Tailwind CSS. tailwindcss.com. Not a lot. This is just a few a way to add some styles really quickly. So you can click on the get started button. Framework guides, we're using Vite, and we can go ahead and let's go ahead and install Tailwind before we start our server here. So first it's saying to install create React app. We've already done that, so we'll just start with this command right here. I'll just copy that over, paste it in. We'll do this npx tailwind css init. We'll paste that in. Next, we need to find our tailwind.config file, and that's what just got created with that command we just ran. And we'll just copy this over. We'll paste that inside of our little content array there. And we need to add these Tailwind directives to our index.css file, which is inside of our source folder. So we'll just put this in here. We'll just throw that at the top. We'll throw it in there like so. And inside here, I'm going to delete that body. I'll leave everything else is fine, but I'm just going to delete that little body class there. So we can close the index.css. And that's it. Let's go ahead and run this npm run dev. This should start up on localhost 5173. And this should be what you see. It looks a little bit different than our normal just Vite application. That's because we deleted that body class, and also we have Tailwind installed. So let's go over to our app.jsx here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything inside here. We don't need any of that stuff. We can delete the count. We can delete all this in here. We'll just leave that use state, and we can remove the app.css. We're not going to need that at all. So let's go ahead and create a few pages. We're going to need a sign up page, a sign in page, and then also that dashboard page. We can do that inside of our source folder. We'll just say we'll make a components folder, then we'll do sign up.jsx. There we go. And we'll also want a sign in.jsx, and we'll want the dashboard.jsx. Go ahead and just create our components in here. Right, and then I'm just going to close a few of these here. We'll close the sign-in one for now and the dashboard one for now. So we're going to be using React Router DOM in order to navigate around our project. So let's go ahead and stop our server. We need to install that npmi React Router DOM, just like that. And we'll open this up here. And inside of our source folder, we're going to create a new file. We're going to call it router.jsx. And inside here, we'll say import. We want create browser router from React Router DOM. Make sure you just install that package, otherwise it won't work properly. Export const router equals create browser router, and inside here we'll give it a path. We want to display the dashboard, which is just going to be our home page, and that element is going to be, we'll just say app for now. Okay, and let's go ahead and just copy that there. Put a comma. We'll copy it down a few times. So let's do our sign up page, our sign in page, and we'll do our dashboard. So inside here, let's do, this is the sign up. Make sure you created those components already. Whoops. There we go. Make sure that gets imported. And let's do our dashboard. Components / dashboard. All right, let's go ahead and give that a save. So next, let's go over to our main component here. So we'll open this up, we'll find main, and inside here, we're gonna have a router provider. We're getting that from React Router DOM. We'll just say router just like that, and we'll close this off. We need to make sure this router is imported. So let's do that. And we can actually just remove this app now because we have that inside of our router file showing as our home route. So we can remove that inside of our main and it can look just like this. And we can go ahead and delete that there. And I'm just gonna add an H1 in here. I'm gonna empty tag there. And we'll say H1, we'll say React, Supabase, Auth, and we're also going to be using context. We'll throw that in there. We're going to be using context, and what that's going to do is allow us to share state throughout our little application here. And let's write a little tailwind here. I'm just going to say text center. We'll say PT4 for padding top of 4. And I'll say text 3XL. So let's go ahead and start our server back up, npm run dev, and let's see if we get any errors. All right, so now we have our tailwind working correctly. You can see our text in the center of the screen. We have a little padding and the text is a little bit larger. And this is our home page here. If we want, let's try to go to the sign up page. You can see we have the sign up, and let's try our dashboard just to make sure everything's working correctly. You can see our dashboard. So let's go back to our home page here, and let's go ahead and we'll close this router for now. We can close this main for now. Let's go ahead and create our sign up component or our sign input component. Let's do our sign up first. So inside here, we're gonna have a form, and we don't need an action for now. Let's delete that. We'll have an H2 that says sign up today. And let's go ahead and give this a class, font bold, and we'll say padding bottom 2. And for this form here, I'm gonna say class name. I'm gonna say a max width of medium. I'm gonna say margin auto and padding top 24 with just a couple rem there, 6 rem. And because I want to see what's going on the screen while I'm typing, I'm going to go ahead and just bring in our sign up component here. There we go. So now you can actually see what we're doing. And we're just going to put that inside of our app. That's going to be like on our landing page, so to speak. But if you already have an account, we'll say already have an account. Then you want to sign in. And let's just throw this sign in here. I'm going to copy that, or cut it rather. And we're going to use the React Router DOM link tab. There we go. We'll paste it in there. And if you already have an account, we want to link you to the sign in page. Let's make sure this link is imported there from React Router DOM. We'll save. So if we click this, we should be routed to our sign in page. Perfect. Let's go back here, and then let's create another div, and we'll have our inputs in here. So this is going to be input. We need an email and also a password here. So input email, we'll have input password. There we go. And let's have a button in here that says sign up. All right, let's go ahead and save. And it looks a little bit funny. So let's give it just a little bit of styling. Class name, we'll say flex column. We'll say py4. And for our inputs here, we'll say class, we'll say p3. I'm gonna say margin top 2. See if that separates it a little bit. Perfect. And for our button, we'll give it a class. I'm gonna say margin top 2. I want a little bit more space. I'm gonna try 4s here. So how's that look? All right, that looks better. Maybe a little more. We'll try 6. Okay, for our button, I'm just gonna say width full as well. And let's go ahead and we can remove this name and ID. We don't need that. We can just clean it up a little bit just for the sake of this video. I'm gonna add a placeholder so we can actually, gives us a little, instead of a label, I'm gonna do a placeholder. I think that's just a little bit nicer. We'll say placeholder. This one is email. And then for this one, we'll say placeholder. We want this one to be password. Awesome. And let's not forget for our form, we'll say type submit on our button, and then we'll say disabled, and we'll pass in this this loading here that we haven't created yet, but we're about to do that right now. So let's go ahead and add our state. We'll come up here. So for our state, we want a few things of state here. We want our email, right? So we're email, set email equal to use state. That's just going to be a string. We'll copy that one down a couple times. So this one will say password, and we want to set the password, and again that's just going to be a string. We want error. We can say set error, And then finally, we'll do loading and set loading in case we want to handle some loading state. Let's make sure we add the state hook in there. There we go. All right, so I mentioned we're using context, and that's how we're going to be sharing our state throughout our application. So let's go ahead and create that now. So inside of our source folder here, I'm going to create a new file, and I'll say context/auth context.jsx. And we want to import, we'll say create context. We want use effect, we'll want use state, and of course the use context. So let's go ahead and save. Okay, so let's say const, we'll say auth context equal to create context. Then down here we'll say export const, we're going to say auth context provider. It's just going to be an arrow function. We're going to pass in children. Then we'll just give it some state. We'll say session, set session. And by default, we're going to say undefined. And then we just want to return the auth context dot provider. And we'll pass in the children here. And for our value, we do want to say value. For now, we'll just pass through the session. And then down here, we'll just say export const user auth. Would be the arrow function here. Return use context auth context. Let's go ahead and save. Now we actually need to get this set up inside of our main component. So let's go back to our main.jsx. And what we need to do is actually wrap our router provider. So we'll come down here, we'll say auth context provider, and we'll just drop that so it surrounds our router provider. Make sure this imported, as you can see it here. Let's go ahead and stop our server. We'll restart. And let's go ahead and make sure that our context is working properly. So inside here, what we're going to do, we're going to import our session. Sorry, we'll say const session, not import, from user auth, just like that. Let's go ahead and save. Make sure that it gets imported at the top. Now, what I'm going to do is console.log the session, and I'm going to make sure, right now it says undefined. So let's go ahead and just confirm that it says undefined down here in our console, undefined. And what we can do is actually go and change that just to make sure. If we change this to, I'm going to delete that. We'll say, hey, it should say, hey, down here. Let's go ahead and refresh. So there you can see we're actually passing our state through our context throughout our app. So let's go ahead and change this back to just undefined, no quotes there. So just undefined. All right. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit, guys, just so it might help you out a little bit, give you a little more room to see what we're coding here on the left. And let's go ahead and let's see here. I think now's a good time to probably get Supabase fired up and running here. So let's go over here. You can close the tailwind. We're done with that. So supabase.com, we're just going to go to start your project, and we're going to start it from scratch. You go ahead and create your free account. Again, it is free. They do have paid tiers, which is awesome. I'm actually using it for my business right now. So, but this is going to be free for the sake of this video. We'll do a new project. Project name, I'm just going to say React Supabase or something, Supabase Auth, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to go to generate a password and go ahead and save that. It's going to be important. We'll do create new project. And again, I'm loving Supabase. It's a nice Firebase alternative. It's a relational database, so you can use SQL in here and all that stuff. So right now it's setting up our project. So go ahead and scroll down. You should see your project API keys, and that's really important. That's how we're going to implement this Supabase into our project. So let's go ahead and create a env file, .env file here. We can put this inside of our main folder here. I'm going to create a new file, just say .env. So we're going to say vite underscore supabase underscore URL. You have to say vite if you're using vite, which we are. And then we'll say vite underscore supabase anon key. You can actually name these whatever you want. So, but it does matter what you name, and we're going to have to reference these here in just a minute. So for our Supabase URL, let's come down here. Don't you guys copy this. I know you're going to copy it because you're not going to listen, but don't copy mine. Make sure you get your own. If you use these, it will not work. You have to get your own. I'm going to disable this as soon as I make the video. And these are private. You don't want to share these with anybody. So keep these here secret. So we're going to go ahead and close our .env file. No quotes, nothing like that. Just remember Supabase URL and vite Supabase anon key. And now we have both of those. We can go back to our dashboard. So we'll do our dashboard here. We'll go to authentication there. Okay, so let's close our .env file. And inside here, I also forgot, we need to actually install Supabase. So let's go to, we'll say home. We go to the docs here. Pull this open here. We'll say install Supabase. Find the docs real quick. There we go. Supabase. Make sure this is the right documentation. NPMI. This is what we want right here. Let's go ahead and just copy that. We'll stop our server. Let's install Supabase. That's probably all we need for now. Close that back down. We'll start our server back up. npm run dev. So at the top of our auth context file, let's go ahead and import Supabase. Actually, before we do that, we should probably create our Supabase file. So inside of our source folder, let's go ahead and create a Supabase client.jsx or JS, doesn't matter. So for our Supabase client, let's go ahead and import create client from Supabase. We want our env key. So we'll say Supabase URL. URL doesn't matter. Import.meta.env. Now this is what you named your env file. We'll say v underscore Supabase underscore URL. And we'll do the same thing for our Supabase non-key. Import.meta.env.v. Sorry, I'm on my MacBook, and I usually just type on my Logitech MX keys here. Supabase anon key. Let's go ahead and save. And now we'll export const Supabase. We'll say create client, and let's just pass in the Supabase URL and our Supabase anon key. Let's restart our server down here. Refresh, and we should see, we're still seeing that error from our auth context here. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and import. We'll see if this auto imports now. We'll import Supabase. There we go. And it's pulling in from our Supabase client. Let's go ahead and save. Hopefully take care of all those errors there. So this is looking good. Okay, so next let's go ahead and write some functions so we can sign up a new user using Supabase. So we're going to come under here, underneath our state, inside of our auth context file. And this is going to be our sign up function here. We'll say const sign up new user. It's be an arrow function. And this is going to be an asynchronous function. So we'll just say async. And then in here, say const data error equal to await supabase.auth.sign up. Open up a parentheses and a curly bracket. And we're actually going to be passing in email. And password. Don't worry about the errors. We actually we're not passing those in yet, so that's why we're seeing the error. But if we do have an error here, this is for our sign up. We just want to say console.error. There was a problem signing up. And we can just give that error here. Whoops. All right. Then we'll just return success false, and then display the error. There we go. Otherwise, we'll return success true, and we want the auth data. Let's go ahead and refresh that. So we need to pass this whole function through our context into our signup component. So let's just copy this here. We'll come down here, and after the session, we'll pass our sign up new user. Then let's go in here, and along with our session, we'll just say sign up new user. Now we have access to that function. So now that we've brought that in, let's go back to our auth context. And what we need to do is actually listen for our state in an auth state change so we can update our app. And we're going to do that with the use effect. So we'll say use effect. We only want this to run once, so we'll add our dependency array. And we'll say supabase.auth.get session then open up parentheses, curly brackets, data session. It's going to be an arrow function, and we'll just set our session to the session response. We'll come down here. We'll say supabase.auth.on auth state change. Open up our parentheses. We'll want the event session, arrow function, set session to the session. Let's go ahead and save. We'll refresh to make sure we don't have any errors. So our session is undefined. We're coming down here, we're running this, we're not getting anything right now, so it is null. Let's go ahead and do just a quick sign out function as well. So we'll have, there we go. I get confused on this keyboard, this damn keyboard. We'll say sign out. We'll say const sign out. Const error. Go Supabase .auth .sign out, and this is just a Supabase function. Oops, this needs to be capitalized there. If we get any error, console.error, and we can just say there was an error. And we'll just display the error there. And let's just pass this sign out function so we have access to that as well. I'm actually gonna keep that lowercase, just keep everything consistent. All right, so let's go ahead and refresh. Again, no errors. Next, let's go into our sign up function. Or while we're at it, let's go ahead and just finish this off, because all we need actually remaining is our sign in function. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick since we're in here. So we have our sign up, we have our use effect, maintaining our session, then we just need to add, we have our sign out, so let's just do our sign in. So I'll say cons, well, let's just say sign in. What's up with all those spaces? Okay, so we'll say const sign in user, just an arrow function here. We'll be using a little try catch error, try catch block, console.error. We'll say an error occurred. We'll display the error. And this is going to be an asynchronous function, so we'll say async. And then inside here, we'll say const data. Actually, put this in curly brackets here. We also want the error equal to await. We'll say supabase.auth.sign in with password is what we want. And by the way, Supabase also does sign in with OTP. I see SSO. They have Google, GitHub, all sorts of things. I'll make some more videos about that, but for this video, we're doing the sign in with password. Then we need to take in those parameters, is the email and password. So we'll say email, password. Let's go ahead and save. And we need to pass those in here too. So we'll just do this, put some curly brackets, and we want the password as well. Let's save. So after this try, before our catch, if there are no errors, we want to proceed. So we can just say, we'll just say if there is an error, say console.error, sign in error occurred. And again, we'll just log that error. And then we'll say return success will be false, error will be error dot message. Let's go ahead and save. Otherwise, we can just say console.log sign in. We'll say like this, sign in success. And let's also just pass the data so we can see like our session in the console. And we'll return success true, and just the data. Let's go ahead and save. We'll refresh to make sure we don't have any errors. And you don't want to leave this, if you deploy this, you don't actually want to put all this data inside of the console, just a little heads up. All right, so let's go down and we'll make sure to pass in our sign in new user inside of our context. So we have the session, we have the sign up new user, sign in new user, and sign out. We'll go ahead and refresh. Sometimes you get that error with context whenever you make a change. It's kind of annoying. All right, so let's go back to our sign up component here. So we're bringing in our sign in or sign up new user here. So what we're going to actually do is write a function that handles this logic on our front end. So we'll say const handle sign up, just be an arrow function. We'll say e.prevent, whoops, not email, just e.prevent default. So we don't actually want to submit this form. We'll pass this in here. There we go. And what I'm going to do initially is set loading to true. We'll have a try catch, and inside the try, say const result equal to await. Then we want our function here, sign up new user, and let's pass our email and password. We'll say if result.success. We want to navigate, which we need to bring in that from React Router DOM, and we'll go to the dashboard. Oh, I don't want this to be capitalized. I want lowercase, and let's go ahead and do that up here. We'll bring that in. I'll say const navigate from use navigate function. So let's make sure this gets imported. Oops, I put this down here. Async, there we go. Let's go ahead and save. Oh, it's throwing a fit about the error, so that's fine. So we'll say, we have our try catch block, so we'll say try. Let's finish this off so we can take care of that error. Catch any error. We'll say set error. An error occurred. Then finally, we want to just set loading to false. Let's go ahead and save. Should take care of any errors there. All right, I think that looks good. We don't need that session anymore for now. Or, you know what? Let's leave that in here for now. Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. Actually, I'm going to leave it just so we can see it whenever we start to get this thing hooked up. And let's go ahead and do that next. So for our sign up function here, we have our sign up. We don't actually have a way to get our email and password from our form. So let's go ahead and do that next. So for our form, we're going to say on submit handle sign up. And then for our input, this is our email here. We'll say on change, pass in the event. We're going to set email e.target.value. Let's go ahead and save. And we'll do the same thing for our passwords. We'll say on change, pass in the event, set password e.target.value. Let's go ahead and save that. We'll make sure our button, we already did type submit. And we also want to display any error. So we already have our error state in here. We're setting our error here if we have one. So let's go ahead and say, we'll say down here below our div, or let's just do below our button, open up curly brackets, and we're only going to display this if we have an error. And we'll just pass in the error here. And let's just give this a little class name. We'll say text red 600. Text center, and we'll say PT padding on the top of 4. So 1 rem. All right, I think we're about ready to try this thing out. One more thing before we move forward. So just to make sure, just to go over this real quick, we have our sign up function. We're not actually submitting the form. We're setting loading to true. We're going to await our function that we wrote inside of our context. If we have a success, we're actually going to redirect users to our dashboard here. So we're going to head over to this page if we have success. And then let's see if that works. One more thing. Let's go back over to our Supabase here. And let's open this up. And by default, when you do the sign up with email and password, just go to the authentication tab. We'll go to providers. And this is where you add in different providers. If you're going to sign in with a phone, not sure why you do that. Apple account, Azure, Facebook, Figma, GitHub. These are all authentication providers that you can use. We're using email and password. And that's going to be by default enabled. So let's go ahead and click that. I'm going to set this, I'm going to turn this confirm email off. I'm going to go ahead and save this. This is something that you probably want to leave on if you're going to be like putting this in production. You don't want your authentication project to just be flooded with like spam. So you want to leave that on, but for the sake of this tutorial, we'll leave that off. And inside here, you can actually set some password rules too, like how long you want your password to be, OTP expiration, so on and so forth. So now that we have that set, we saved it, so no confirm email. I'll just refresh to make sure that it took the save. Okay, and let's go back to just our authentication tab here. I'll shrink this back down, and let's go ahead and try and maybe sign in a user. So inside here, I'm just going to console.log email password just to make sure we're pulling stuff in. So there we have it. You can see that in our console. So this is both working. So cool. I'll refresh those. Or I'll delete those rather. And inside of our auth context, we can actually do the same thing just to make sure before we try this thing. We'll say console.log. Actually, we're not bringing in those directly. We're just passing them through our function. I forget. So let's go ahead and try this thing. Let's see what happens. I'm going to type client@codecommerce.io. My super secret password. Let's sign up. An error occurred. What is our error? Let's see if we have something in here. So we have an error. An error occurred. I think this is on our sign up page. So it's not submitting the form, set loading to true. We're getting this error. An error occurred right here. So let's go ahead and it's making it through this function. So let's go ahead and go to our auth context. Let's see, passing in. Ooh, you know what? We aren't passing in email and password. There we go. Whoops, go back here. Let's refresh. And also what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this. If you want all of you know what, let's leave it how it is. I was going to say, sometimes if you want your email to be always stored as lowercase, just on like our side, not so the user notice, you can say like .2 lowercase on the sign up, wherever they enter in their email and password, and you can do that on your context as well. But I'll just leave it like this for now. So now that we're passing those in, hopefully this should work now. Yeah, we did it on our sign in function. I don't know why I didn't do it on our sign up function. So let's try this. Give it a refresh. I'm going to pull this over here. Hopefully we see our new user, codecommerce.io. Type in the super secret password. Anonymous sign-ins are disabled. I think that's a good sign. Let's go over here. Something is working here. So let's go to our providers. Enable email provider, confirm email. We saved that. I wonder, is it getting our password? So let's pull this back over here. Oh, you know what? Let's see. I think I added an extra little curly bracket. Let's go ahead and save. We'll refresh. Whoops. Ooh, did that go through now? I think that just went through. Let's go ahead and check our table. Authentication. Okay, didn't go through. Let's try it once more. Say clint@codecommerce.io. Please work. Hey, there you go. So we had the extra set of curly brackets. So now you can see it actually logged us in. It navigated us. If we go back to our signup component, we navigated to our dashboard, and we're actually console.logging our session in here, which you can see down here. We have an access token. Expires at, and then we have some other information, user information. This is a unique user ID. We have a whole bunch of metadata that Supabase gives us whenever we sign up a new user. So, this thing is working. On our dashboard, let's go ahead and what we want to do, let's open this up. Let's find our dashboard here. I'm going to close the app for now. I think we can close the sign up for now. We added our sign out function. We can close the Supabase client. We'll close this main for now. Let's go into our dashboard here. And what if we want to display our email like we showed in the demo? So let's import our user auth from our auth context. And then inside here, we'll say const session. And we also want the sign out function from user auth. That's what we called sign out, right? Yep, there we go. So we're pulling in the session and the sign out from our context here. And we want to pull in navigate because we're going to give a way for our user to sign out. We actually want to redirect them to the sign up page or the sign in page, whatever we choose to do. So use navigate, make sure that gets imported. And while we're in here, we can use console.log the session. Since we're bringing that in, we have our session in here. And inside here on our dashboard, I'll just cut that. We'll give it an H1, paste that in there. Then let's do another div. We'll just give a p tag and say sign out. We'll also say welcome. We'll open up our curly brackets here. We can just say session, and we want the session. This is our session here. We just want the user. So we'll say .user.email. So we'll say session.user.email. Make sure you add the little question marks in there. Kind of evaluates the statement to make sure it's true. So now you can see, welcome, Clint@CodeCommerce. Looks pretty good. All right, so let's go in here to this p tag. We'll say class name. I'm just gonna make it look like a button. We'll say hover, cursor pointer. So that way we get a little pointer whenever we hover over it like that. All right, and we'll say border, inline block, px4, we'll say py3, and a margin top of, we'll just say 1 rem. So we have our button, but we can't actually sign out yet. We need to be able to sign out. So let's go ahead. We already brought in our sign out function here, right? So from our context, so we'll say const handle sign out e.prevent keep doing else e.prevent default, and we'll pass that in here. There we go. And this is actually going to be an asynchronous function. So we'll just say async. Then in here, say try await our sign out function. And if this happens, let's navigate back to the home page, and then we'll catch if there's an error, and we'll just console.error the error. Oh, it's an error. And let's go ahead and save. We'll grab this handle sign out function, and on this p tag we'll just say on click we're going to run the handle sign out function. So hopefully now if we click this button, if it's working correctly, I'll drop this down a little bit. If this is working correctly, we will sign out of Supabase and navigate to the home page. So let's go ahead and try that. Oh, you can see our user there. Went over, we can close this documentation page. You can actually see our user in our Supabase Auth table. I think we already looked at that. So let's go ahead and sign out, and please redirect us to our sign up page. Nice. So don't have an account, we sign in, but we never did that. Let's go ahead and do that right now. So we have a sign up, we can create our user. Let's go back over here to our auth context. We have our sign in, and are we passing that through? Let's make sure we're passing in, sign in user, perfect. So next, let's go to our sign in, and you know what? Let's make this easy on ourselves, and I'm just gonna copy all this stuff. We'll paste it in here. All right, and we'll just change everything back to sign in. Let's go up here. This is going to be sign in. All this is going to remain the same. We can keep all of that state. Sign up. This one's going to be handle sign in. Let's go ahead and change that here. And instead of await sign up new user, we're going to say sign. What do we call it in here? Let's find our context. So we're passing in the sign in user, right? So that's what we're passing here. So we'll say sign in user, let's save. And that's what we're gonna run here. And yes, we want to still redirect to the dashboard upon successful sign in. This is what we're running on our form whenever we submit our form. Let's just change this to, we'll just say sign in, already have an account. We'll say don't have an account, link to the sign up page, link to the sign up page. So let's see, there we go. Sign in today. On the sign in page, we'll say don't have an account, sign up, already have an account, let's sign in. We have our on change events here, passing in our email and password that we type in, and then we have an error if we receive one. So let's go ahead and see if this thing's working. So I'm going to sign in with my account that I just used real quick on this 13 here. We'll leave it there. That's fine. Let's see, codecommerce.io. Let's see if this works. And it's not working. Missing email or phone. You know what? I bet we had the same little error. Let's go up here to our sign in. Same error, same error. Let's go ahead and save. We'll refresh. .io. By the way, you guys, if you want to put this on your portfolio project, please do so, or, you know, spruce it up, make it look a little bit nicer if you're going to throw it on a portfolio project. And if you need a resume, if you're not sure what a resume should look like, a tech resume, if this is your first job or you're trying to switch jobs, I did create a resume. This is the one I use personally. I'll put it down in the comments below. Just click the link below and I'll send you my resume template for free, and feel free to use that. So let's go ahead and sign. Oh, let's change that button real quick too, before we forget, on our sign up, just to keep it looking nice. Sign in. There we go. Cool. And let's see if this works. Sign in. Hey, there you go. We redirected to our dashboard, and now we can see our session in here. Sign out, but we still have a problem. If we go to our dashboard, dashboard, we still have access to the dashboard, even though we don't have a session. The session is null. It is undefined, and it just says welcome. So we actually want to protect this route. We don't want to let users be able to access our dashboard route if they're not authenticated. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we're going to do inside of our components folder here, I'm going to create a new component. I'm just going to call it private route.jsx. And I'll just say RAFCE to generate our function. And inside here, this is just going to be a wrapper. So we'll just say children. And inside here, we can just say children. And we'll delete that. We can get rid of this div. We don't need that. But we do want our session because we'll bring that in from our context from user auth. So make sure that gets imported. Whoops. There we go. I'm telling you, this damn keyboard. All right, so let's see here. So we have our session. So inside here, we can just have a little bit of logic here. So I'll just go ahead and cut that. We'll open up our curly brackets. If the session is true, let's show our children. There we go. Else, if they try and access this page and they're not authenticated, let's just redirect them to the sign-in page or the sign-up page. So we'll just say navigate to sign up. Let's throw our curly bracket there. Let's go ahead and save. So if the session is true, we're going to display the children. Let's navigate to our sign up page. So let's go into our router.jsx. And inside here, what we want to do is just wrap any element or component that we want to protect. So in this case, it's just going to be the dashboard. So we'll say protected route, or sorry, private route is what it was, right? Private route. And we'll just make sure that imported, but we'll just paste our dashboard inside there. And yeah, make sure that imported there. Let's refresh. It says navigate is not defined. That is in our private route here. Let's make sure that gets imported. Let's go and save. Refresh. So now if we try and access our dashboard, you can see it redirects us back to our homepage or sign up page. But I'm not sure if you saw that. It actually gives us a little flash of content. It kind of flashes it real quick. And just to prevent that, you don't have to do this, but just if you want to prevent it, we can just add in a little check here. So we'll say if the session is undefined, which that's what it is by default. We just want to return. You can do like a spinner here or something. I'm just going to say loading, something like that. We'll just return this little p tag here. Go and refresh. So that works a little bit better. And I mean, you can't really tell here. Let's see, dashboard. You can kind of see real quick. You see it display right here at the top of the screen. So if you want to do like a loader or something, that's fine as well. There it is. You can see it just flash real quick. If you want to do a loader, that's fine as well. But that kind of handles a little bit of UI issues there. So let's try this thing again. Make sure it's all working. I'm going to pull this over. I'll open it up just a little bit. There's our user. I'm going to drop down so we can, there it is. Find that breakpoint. So sign in, sign up. We already signed in with our user. Let's go back over to our sign up. We'll create a new user @gmail.com. I'll just copy that so we can sign in with it. Let's sign up. It redirects us to our dashboard. Meanwhile, if we check our Supabase dashboard, might have to refresh here. We can see our user in here, hopefully. Yep, so there we are. We have our email displayed on our dashboard screen. We can sign out. It gets us redirected. And you guys, you don't want to show this in the console, so make sure you comment that out. But let's go ahead and sign in. So we'll sign in with our new user that we just created. Signs us in. Perfect. And if we try and access this super secret dashboard page, not authenticated, we get a loading spinner and it redirects us to the sign up page. That's how we can handle some authentication in React using Supabase. If you want the free resume guide, then click the link below and I'll send it to you for free. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button. I'll see you on the next one.